Welcome back to another video. Today, I'm gonna share you a story, and it's based on a true story. One recounted to me by a close friend whose experiences during a university camping trip turned from an adventure into a nightmare. For privacy and out of respect for those involved, the actual location has been changed and will be referred to as Whispering Woods. It is a name that captures the essence of their eerie experience, without revealing the true name of the place where these events unfolded. The moon hung like a silver pendant, casting a serene glow over the dense, whispering woods. Campfire sparks danced like fireflies against the backdrop of an ink-black sky, as four friends, in which name is also changed due to privacy concerns, Alex, Jamie, Marissa, and Eli, huddled around the flickering light, their faces aglow with excitement and the eerie shadows of the flames. They were seasoned campers, each one drawn to the thrill of the wild and the tales it concealed within its darkened realms. But this time, they were venturing into the Whispering Woods, a place shrouded in legend, and a strict set of rules laid out by the local ranger due to its ominous history. As they settled around the fire, Eli, with a heavy note of solemnity, reminded them of the one rule the ranger had stressed: never wander off alone, especially not after dark. Stick together, or the woods will stick you forever. It was a strange warning, almost like a curse, and it hung over them as the night deepened. Alex, unrolling his sleeping bag, looked around the shadowy forest. You know, they say these woods are different at night. Almost alive, he grinned, trying to spook his friends. Jamie, who was arranging the food supplies, laughed. Come on, Alex. It's just trees and animals. What's the worst that could happen? Despite her words, a shiver ran down her spine as the forest whispered around them. Marissa, sitting on a log with a map and compass, glanced up. Actually, I read that the indigenous people of this area believed these woods were sacred. They said it was a thin place where the spirits could touch our world. Eli, tending to the fire, nodded. That's right. And there's a lot of history here, too. Battles, settlements, disappearances. If woods could talk, huh? The friends paused, each lost in thought, the crackling fire and the encroaching night filling the silence. Jamie broke the quiet. Well, whatever is or isn't out there, we're here to enjoy the wilderness, right? Let's not freak ourselves out before the trip even begins. Marissa chimed in. Yes, but let's respect it too. Remember the rule the ranger told us. Never wander off alone, especially at night. Alex scoffed slightly. Rules are meant to guide, not control. We're experienced. What could possibly happen? The group laughed off the tension, but the ranger's warning echoed in their minds as the forest seemed to lean in closer. The trees whispering secrets to the night. They settled around the fire, the warmth a small comfort against the cool air. Eli suggested, how about we share some personal stories? Not ghost stories, but something real. Something that's happened to us in the wild. One by one, they shared tales of getting lost, of breathtaking views, of wildlife encounters, each story weaving a tapestry of adventure and respect for the natural world. As they talked, the forest listened, the night deepening around them. The friends shared stories of spectral legends and folklore, each tale more spine-chilling than the last. As the night wore on, the group's laughter and bravado faded, replaced by an uneasy sense of being watched. The forest seemed to whisper and murmur, the trees rustling with secrets. But as the fire burned lower and the stories ran out, an uncomfortable feeling settled over the group. The woods were too quiet, the darkness too pressing. It was as if the forest was waiting for something. It was Marissa, the skeptic and always curious, who broke the rule. Frustrated with a particularly scary tale, she scoffed. This is nonsense, and stormed off into the woods to get some air and prove there was nothing to fear. The others called after her, but she was adamant. "I'll be just 5 minutes," she declared, her voice trailing off into the darkness. As Marissa walked away from the campsite, her steps confident and brisk, she felt a mix of irritation and bravado. "It's just a forest," she muttered to herself, her flashlight cutting a path through the darkness. She walked farther than she intended, the quiet and solitude feeling like a balm to her frayed nerves. However, as she ventured deeper, the atmosphere shifted. The trees seemed to crowd closer, their branches like fingers brushing against her skin. The night sounds grew hushed, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. Marissa's confidence wavered, a flicker of doubt creeping in. "It's just your imagination," she told herself firmly. Turning to head back, she realized the forest had grown disorientingly silent. Her flashlight flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced just out of sight. A cold breeze whispered through the trees, carrying with it a faint, murmuring voice. Marissa froze, her heart pounding. "Hello?" she called, her voice quivering slightly. No reply came, but the murmuring grew louder, a chorus of whispers that seemed to encircle her. Panic rose in her throat as she spun around, trying to find the source. The whispers grew insistent, urgent, filling her head with a cacophony of sound. Her flashlight flickered again, and for a brief moment, she saw something, a shadowy figure, just at the edge of the light, watching her. Minutes passed, but Marissa did not return. The group's anxiety swelled as the forest around them seemed to press in closer, the shadows darker, the night sounds more menacing. They called out for her, their voices swallowed by the vast wilderness. Marissa ran. She ran as she had never run before, the whispers chasing her, the trees seeming to shift and move in her path. Branches snagged at her clothes, roots tripped her feet, but fear propelled her forward. The forest around her was a blur, every shadow a lurking menace, every rustle a potential threat. As she neared what she hoped was the edge of the campsite, her foot caught on an unseen root, sending her sprawling to the forest floor. The impact knocked the breath from her lungs, and for a moment she lay there, disoriented, her heart pounding in her chest. Then, through the tangle of branches above, she saw it, a darker shadow amongst the dark, a formless shape that seemed to dart between the trees, heading straight for her. It moved with an unnatural speed, its presence overwhelming, consuming. The shadow surged forward, and then everything went black. Marissa's scream tore through the night, a sound of pure, unadulterated fear. It was a scream that spoke of terror beyond reason, a primal acknowledgement of something wholly other, something ancient and malevolent, hidden in the depths of the whispering woods. Upon hearing Marissa's scream, the group, propelled by a mixture of fear and concern, plunged into the woods, their flashlights slicing through the oppressive darkness. They quickly located her not far from the campsite, her complexion ashen, her eyes reflecting sheer terror. Though physically unharmed, she was visibly shaken, stammering about a sinister presence, a shadowy figure, barely discernible yet unmistakably inhuman, that seemed to watch her from the darkness. The incidents escalated quickly, transforming their night of camaraderie into a nightmare. The trees seemed to close in around them, the darkness growing thicker, more oppressive. As they huddled together, a new fear emerged, distinct from the spectral dread they had entertained earlier. It was more tangible, more immediate. Suddenly, from the darkness, a figure emerged, a tall, ragged man, his eyes wild with murderous intent. He moved with a terrifying purpose, his gaze locked onto the group. The friends were frozen, their fear palpable in the heavy air. The man was upon them before they could react, his strength overwhelming. He grappled with Alex, throwing him to the ground with a frightening ferocity. The others, driven by a primal instinct to survive, launched themselves at the attacker. The fight was chaotic, a flurry of desperation and fear. In the scuffle, Marissa managed to land a heavy blow to the man's head with her full metal water bottle. He staggered, then fell to the ground unconscious. Without wasting a moment, the group gathered their wits and fled, leaving the still form of the man lying in the forest clearing. They ran through the woods, the terror of being pursued igniting their limbs with a burst of adrenaline. Branches whipped at their faces, roots tripped them up, but they kept going, driven by the singular desire to escape. Finally, they reached their car, the sight of it like a beacon of safety. They piled in, hearts racing, and drove away as fast as possible. The engine roared to life, and the tires spun, throwing dirt and leaves behind them as they sped down the narrow road leading out of the forest. As they put distance between themselves and the woods, Jamie turned on the radio, seeking some distraction, some semblance of normalcy. But what they heard only deepened their horror. A news bulletin reported that a murderer had escaped from a nearby prison, a man known for his towering height and violent outbursts. The description matched the man they had just encountered in the woods. The car filled with a heavy silence, each person lost in their own thoughts. The realization of how close they had come to a gruesome fate sinking in. They drove through the morning, the sun rising as if to chase away the remnants of the night's terror. Once they were safely home, they gathered, a look of shared resolve on their faces. They made a solemn pledge, promising each other that they would never go camping again. The risk, the fear, the nearness of death was too much. They could not, would not, forget the horrors of the Whispering Woods. And so, the story ends with the group firmly turning their backs on the wilderness, the memories of that fateful night ensuring they kept their vow. The thrill of the wild had been irrevocably tainted by the very real horror of human malice, and they knew some adventures were not worth the gamble. They never went camping again. They had ventured into the woods as many do, seeking escape and adventure, only to find themselves face to face with the darkest aspects of human nature. When they returned, they were not the same carefree spirits that had laughed and shared stories around a campfire. Their eyes held a caution, a depth that spoke of the ordeal they had endured. In hushed tones, they recounted their story to me, each detail etched into their memory with startling clarity. At first, I found it hard to believe, a narrative so fraught with terror it bordered on the unbelievable. But as they described the man they encountered, a chill ran down my spine. They mentioned specific traits, a ragged appearance, a menacing aura that matched the descriptions of a serial killer, one whose heinous acts had been flooding the news cycles, a name that caused a shiver in anyone who heard it. The recognition was immediate. I remembered the broadcasts, the all-points bulletins, the face that seemed to stare out from every screen and newspaper. This was not just any tale of fear and survival. This was an encounter with a monster, a known predator that had instilled fear in the heart of every household. This experience shook us all, a grim reminder that while we seek thrill and connection with nature, there are untamed and unpredictable elements, both of the wilderness and within ourselves. It's a tale that has stayed with me, a cautionary story that I share now, from their lips to this retelling. So, as you venture into the great outdoors, into the embrace of nature, remember the tale of my friends. Respect the rules, respect the unknown, and perhaps most importantly, respect the thin and fragile line between adventure and peril. Thank you guys for watching. As always, stay curious and stay safe.